You carry more than you think. Most of what weighs you down isn't even yours to hold, but you've convinced yourself that you need to carry it, that somehow it's your responsibility to keep people in your life who drain you, to hold on to relationships that have long expired, to cling to memories of things that no longer serve you. And why? Because you fear what happens if you let go. You fear the unknown, the silence, the space that will be left behind. But you have to ask yourself, is that fear worth more than your potential? Is the comfort of familiarity worth more than the person you could become? People hold on for all the wrong reasons. They stay in toxic friendships because they think history equals loyalty. They keep themselves in broken relationships because they've invested too much time to walk away. They surround themselves with those who limit them because deep down, they don't believe they can do better. And so they stay, they endure, they shrink themselves to fit into spaces they've outgrown. And they wonder why they feel stuck, why nothing changes, why every day feels like a repetition of the last. You need to understand something. Not everyone is meant to go where you're going. Some people were only ever meant to be in your life for a season, to teach you something, to challenge you, to show you a version of yourself that you needed to see. But when that season ends, you need to recognize it for what it is. You cannot keep people around simply because you're afraid of being alone. Loneliness isn't the enemy. Stagnation is. And I get it, letting go isn't easy. It feels unnatural. It feels like betrayal. But what's the greater betrayal? To let go of people who are holding you back, or to betray yourself by staying in a place where you don't belong? You have a responsibility, not to them, but to yourself. A responsibility to become the strongest version of who you are capable of being. And that means making choices that are painful. That means saying goodbye to the people who don't align with your growth. That means cutting ties with environments that no longer serve your purpose. Most people won't do it. They'll justify staying where they are. They'll tell themselves it's not that bad, that maybe if they just give it more time, things will change. But they won't. And deep down, you know that. You know that no amount of waiting, no amount of effort, no amount of sacrificing your own well-being is going to turn a bad situation into a good one. If you've outgrown a situation, if you've realized that the people around you are not helping you become better, then it's your duty to walk away. Not with bitterness, not with anger, but with clarity. Because letting go isn't about proving a point. It's not about showing people that you don't need them. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of things that no longer belong to you. And here's the truth. When you finally let go, when you make that decision to put yourself first, the weight you've been carrying will start to lift. You'll realize just how much energy you've been wasting on things that don't matter, on people who were never meant to stay. And in that space, in that silence you once feared, you'll find something powerful. You'll find yourself. So ask yourself, who in your life is weighing you down? What habits, what environments, what mindsets are keeping you from stepping into your full potential? If something isn't helping you grow, it's holding you back. And you cannot afford to stay where you don't belong. Not if you want to be great. Not if you want to build something meaningful with your life. The weight you carry is a choice. And the moment you decide to put it down, the moment you stop clinging to things that no longer serve you, is the moment you begin to rise. You spend too much time worrying about what other people think, too much energy shaping yourself into what you think they want you to be, too much effort trying to impress people who wouldn't even notice if you disappeared tomorrow. And yet, you keep doing it. You keep chasing approval like it's some kind of currency. Like if you collect enough of it, you'll finally feel whole. But you won't. Because external validation is a bottomless pit. No matter how much you pour into it, it's never enough. Look around. How many people are living for applause? How many are trapped in cycles of performance, desperately seeking recognition from those who don't even respect them? They curate their lives, filter their personalities, say the right things, dress the right way, all for the hope that someone, anyone, will tell them they're good enough. And yet the moment they receive that approval, it fades. It doesn't satisfy. It never does. Because they built their self-worth on a foundation that was never meant to hold it. You cannot build something strong on something unstable. And when your sense of self is dependent on the opinions of others, you are unstable. You become a puppet to their expectations, a slave to their judgments. You hesitate before making decisions, wondering what they will think. You hold back on pursuing what you truly want because what if people disapprove? What if they mock you? What if they don't understand? So you stay where you are. You play it safe. You trade your own potential for the comfort of being accepted. But let me ask you this. Who are you really living for? Are you building a life that makes you proud, or are you just trying to be liked? And if you stripped away all the approval, all the validation, all the recognition, who would you be then? Would you still believe in yourself if nobody was clapping? Because that's the real test. That's the difference between someone who is truly strong and someone who is merely performing strength. If you want to be great, if you want to build something meaningful, you have to stop looking outward and start looking inward. Your value does not come from what other people think of you. It never did. It comes from what you do, from the discipline you cultivate, from the skills you develop, from the principles you stand by. It comes from the hard work you put in when no one is watching, from the battles you fight in silence, from the standards you hold yourself to regardless of whether anyone else approves. And that's the real challenge. Can you stay committed to your growth even when no one acknowledges it? Can you keep pushing forward when there's no applause, no validation, no instant reward? Because if you can, you've already won. The strongest people in the world, the ones who achieve real success, they don't do it for approval. They do it because they have something inside them, something unshakable, something that cannot be taken away. They are their own foundation. You have to become that kind of person. You have to build yourself into someone who doesn't need permission to be great, someone who doesn't need likes or followers or validation to know their worth, someone who wakes up every day and does the work not because the world is watching, but because they refuse to be anything less than what they are capable of being. And when you become that person, everything changes. You stop fearing judgment because you realize it's meaningless. You stop seeking approval because you've built something real inside yourself, something that no one can take away. And ironically, that's when people start to respect you. Not when you chase their validation, but when you no longer need it. So the choice is yours. You can keep living for them, bending yourself to fit their expectations, chasing approval that will never satisfy you, or you can turn inward, build yourself into something unbreakable, and finally become free. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is woven into the very fabric of existence, and yet people spend their entire lives trying to avoid it. They run from discomfort, numb themselves with distractions, do everything in their power to escape the harsh reality that life is at times profoundly difficult. But the truth is, pain is not the enemy. Pain is a teacher. It is a force of nature that strips away illusions, reveals your weaknesses, and forces you to confront the parts of yourself that you'd rather ignore. And if you let it, pain will break you, but not in the way you fear. It will break the weaker version of you so that something stronger can emerge. Think about the moments in your life when you truly changed, when something inside you shifted in a way that could never be undone. It wasn't during the easy times, was it? No, it was when you were pushed to your limits, when you had no choice but to either rise or collapse under the weight of it all. The loss, the heartbreak, the failures, the betrayals, those weren't just unfortunate events. Those were the very fires that forged you. And yet most people don't see it that way. They see suffering as an injustice, as something that shouldn't happen to them. They resent it. They curse their circumstances, they fall into self-pity, and in doing so, they waste the very thing that could transform them. You have two choices when faced with suffering. You can let it consume you, define you, turn you bitter and resentful, or you can use it. You can take that pain and turn it into power. But to do that, you have to be willing to sit with it, to feel it fully, to stop running and actually face the weight of what you're carrying. That's terrifying for most people because deep down, they're afraid that if they let themselves feel everything, they won't survive it. But they will, and more than that, they'll come out of it with a depth, a resilience and a level of strength they never knew they had. There's something deeply powerful about a person who has suffered and refused to be destroyed by it. You can see it in them. The way they carry themselves, the way they speak, the way they move through the world. They have a gravity to them, a quiet strength that demands respect. That kind of person didn't get there by accident. They were shaped by fire, by hardship, by moments that would have broken a weaker person. And they made a choice, whether consciously or unconsciously, to take their suffering and turn it into something meaningful. Pain is not just something to endure. It is fuel. It is information. It is a call to action. If you are suffering, if you are struggling, then that is life telling you something needs to change. It is showing you where you are weak, where you are undisciplined, where you are attached to things that are no longer serving you. And instead of numbing yourself, instead of seeking comfort, you need to lean into it. Ask yourself, what is this teaching me? Where is it directing me? How can I use this to become something greater than I am right now? The most powerful people in the world are not the ones who have avoided suffering. They are the ones who have endured it, learned from it, and emerged transformed. They are the ones who have taken their pain and built something with it. And that is available to you, not tomorrow, not someday, but right now. In this very moment, you have the ability to decide that your pain will not be wasted, that you will take everything that has broken you, everything that has made you question whether you could keep going, and you will turn it into fuel, into wisdom, into something so powerful that no one, not even the people who hurt you, can take it away. Most people are terrified of being alone. They fill every moment with noise, every space with distractions, anything to avoid sitting with themselves in silence. And why? Because solitude forces you to confront the truth. It strips away the masks, the performances, the roles you play for others. It leaves you with nothing but yourself, your thoughts, your fears, your regrets, your weaknesses. And that's uncomfortable. That's why people run from it. They surround themselves with shallow relationships, mindless entertainment, endless distractions, anything to keep from facing the reality of who they are when no one else is watching. But there is no growth without solitude. There is no self-discovery without stepping away from the noise and looking inward. How can you know what you truly think if you've never had to listen to your own mind without external influence? How can you know what you truly want if your desires have always been shaped by the expectations of others? People think they know themselves, but what they really know is the version of themselves that has been shaped by their environment, their culture, their peers. Strip all of that away, and who remains? That is the question solitude forces you to answer. And make no mistake, this is not an easy process. When you begin to separate yourself from the noise, when you stop relying on external validation to define your worth, there will be discomfort. Doubt will creep in. You will realize how much of your life has been dictated by forces outside of your control. But this is necessary. This is how you reclaim yourself. This is how you begin the process of becoming someone who is truly strong, someone who does not need to be constantly entertained, constantly validated, constantly surrounded by others to feel a sense of purpose. Most people will never do this. They will stay trapped in the cycle of distraction, too afraid to be alone with their thoughts. And because of that, they will never truly know who they are. They will spend their lives chasing things they don't even truly want, following paths that were never meant for them, simply because they never took the time to stop and question whether they were heading in the right direction. That is the tragedy of avoiding solitude. You may avoid discomfort in the short term, but in the long term, you lose yourself. The people who achieve real greatness in this world are not the ones who are constantly surrounded by others, constantly seeking approval, constantly filling their time with meaningless noise. They are the ones who have learned to stand alone. They are the ones who have spent time in the depths of their own minds, who have faced their demons, who have emerged from solitude with a clarity that others lack. They do not move through life blindly. They do not follow the crowd. They know exactly who they are, exactly what they stand for, and exactly where they are going. You need to become that person. You need to carve out time for solitude, not as an escape, not as isolation, but as a means of self-discovery. You need to sit with your thoughts, uncomfortable as they may be, and wrestle with the hard questions. Who are you when no one else is watching? What do you believe, not because you were told to, but because you have reasoned it through yourself? What do you truly want, separate from what the world has told you to want? If you cannot answer these questions, then you do not truly know yourself. And if you do not know yourself, how can you expect to build a meaningful life? Strength is not found in the crowd. It is found in the moments when you stand alone, when you strip away the external influences and look at yourself with brutal honesty. That is where transformation begins. That is where real power is cultivated. And when you emerge from that solitude, you will not be the same. You will walk differently, speak differently, think differently. You will move through the world with a certainty that others lack. And that is something no one can take from you. You are not yet who you could be, and you know it. The version of yourself, stronger, sharper, more disciplined, that you catch glimpses of in your mind. The one who doesn't hesitate when faced with a challenge, who speaks with confidence, who moves through life with a sense of purpose that is unshakable. And yet, here you are, stuck somewhere between who you are and who you could be. The question is, what are you doing about it? Most people wait. They wait for the right moment, the right motivation, the right circumstances. They tell themselves they'll start tomorrow, next week, next year. And so they remain exactly where they are, stagnant, frustrated, endlessly making excuses for why they aren't taking action. But here's the truth. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you discipline, hand you strength, hand you the life you want. If you want to be better, you have to make yourself better. And that begins with an honest look at where you are weak. People avoid that kind of self-examination because it's painful. It's hard to admit that you are not as strong as you thought, that your habits are holding you back, that you've let yourself down time and time again. But if you refuse to face these truths, you will never grow. You have to be willing to confront your own inadequacies, not as a way to shame yourself, but as a way to understand where the work needs to be done. Building the strongest version of yourself isn't about chasing some idealized image. It's about taking full responsibility for who you are right now and committing to something better. It means waking up every single day and making choices that align with that commitment. It means showing up even when you don't feel like it. It means holding yourself to a higher standard even when no one is watching. And that's the real test, isn't it? Whether you have the discipline to do the hard things when no one is there to push you. Strength isn't given, it's earned. It's earned through sacrifice, through struggle, through an unrelenting refusal to settle for mediocrity. It's built in the moments when you push past your limits, when you do what is necessary rather than what is easy. And the process will be uncomfortable. Growth always is. You will have to let go of bad habits, cut ties with people who drag you down, strip away the parts of yourself that no longer serve you. It will be painful, but what's the alternative? To stay the same, to remain weak, to look back years from now and realize you wasted your potential because you weren't willing to endure temporary discomfort. Everything you want, confidence, success, purpose, respect, it all comes as a byproduct of building yourself into someone capable of achieving those things. That is the reality most people don't want to face. They want the results without the work. They want to feel strong without having to struggle. But it doesn't work that way. If you want to be powerful, you must first make yourself powerful. If you want to be unbreakable, you must first endure the fire that forges resilience. So stop waiting. Stop making excuses. Stop settling for a version of yourself that is less than what you are capable of becoming. Every day is an opportunity to get stronger, to sharpen your mind, to build the habits that will carry you forward. Take it seriously. Treat your life like it matters, because it does. And the moment you truly commit to this path, the moment you stop negotiating with your own weakness, you will realize something. You were always capable of becoming great. You just had to stop standing in your own way. There will always be people who doubt you, people who belittle your ambitions, who mock your efforts, who tell you that you're wasting your time. Some of them will do it out of jealousy, some out of insecurity, and some because they can't stand the thought of you rising while they remain stagnant. And for a moment, You might feel the urge to fight back, to argue, to prove them wrong with words, to demand that they see your worth, but that's not the answer. The best response is not anger, the best response is not explanation, the best response is success. Nothing silences critics like undeniable results. When you take all that energy, all that frustration, and channel it into building something real, something undeniable, you strip their words of power. Because opinions don't matter when faced with reality. People can talk, they can doubt, they can whisper behind your back, but when you are standing at the top of the mountain, when you have achieved what they said you couldn't, there is nothing left for them to say. But this isn't just about proving them wrong, it's about proving yourself right. It's about taking control of your own life, about refusing to let other people's negativity dictate your future. Because if you spend your time arguing, if you waste your energy trying to convince people that you're worth something, you're playing a losing game. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't need their approval. What you need is action, discipline, unwavering focus on what actually matters. Every second you spend dwelling on their words is a second you could have spent improving yourself. Every ounce of energy wasted on resentment is energy that could have been used to build. So let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them think whatever they want. It doesn't change reality. Your work will speak for itself. Your results will make the statement for you. And when the time comes, when you've built yourself into something undeniable, you won't even need to look back at them, because by then they won't matter. They were never the point. The point was always you, your growth, your success, your journey. And that's what truly matters, not the noise, not the opinions, not the doubters, just the undeniable truth that you became exactly what you were meant to be. Life will always present you with choices. You can cling to the past, to the people who hold you back, to the versions of yourself that no longer serve you, or you can let go. You can waste your energy seeking validation, drowning in distractions, avoiding the discomfort of solitude, or you can face yourself and build something real. You can fear pain, resist change, make excuses for why you're not where you want to be, or you can use every hardship as fuel to transform into the strongest version of yourself. The world will tell you who you should be. People will doubt you, undermine you, try to keep you small, but none of that matters. What matters is what you choose to do. Whether you stay trapped in weakness or rise into strength. Whether you waste your potential or forge something meaningful out of your suffering. And in the end, the only answer that truly matters isn't in words, it's in your action. It's in the life you create. It's in the undeniable truth that you became something greater. Not because it was easy, not because it was handed to you, but because you made yourself into it. So let go of what no longer serves you. Focus on yourself. Build, grow, succeed. And when you look back, you won't just see the obstacles you overcame. You'll see the person you became because of them. And that will be enough. That will be everything.